Hello and welcome to The Healing Way. My name is Richard Clark, and on this video I'll be talking about why people get ill, really. The title of the video is Healthy People Don't Get Ill, which seems a very obvious thing to say, but if you look at it, if people are getting ill, they're not healthy. So what we think of as health, we look at somebody and think, well, they were healthy, and then they suddenly get ill. They were never healthy in the first place. That's the point. The way things are at the moment, we're all on, like the country I live in, the UK, everyone's more or less on the same level, health-wise. So we take that as the norm. We take that as 100%, that's health, 100% health. And then we have this idea that people for some reason catch something or acquire some illness, maybe it's long term, maybe it's serious, and after the illness comes the symptoms, and the symptoms damage the body, which is quite right. That's what happens. But before the illness gets in, a person's level of health really needs to have dropped. And this is something I've become aware of over the past few years, that we are all in a very low level of health. So low that I wouldn't really call it health. It's more like we are ill without the symptoms. We are suffering from very low levels of energy, of vitality. We have no real constitutional strength, and we're wide open to any illness or disease that comes along. But the illness or disease isn't the problem. It isn't the problem. It is another problem, yes. And then it gives rise to all its own problems, all the symptoms of the disease, yes. But it isn't the start of the process. The start of the process is the decline in the level of health in all of us. That's what lets the disease in. And because we are at a low level of health but without symptoms most of the time, we're not in pain, we're not suffering, we think we're healthy. We're not. We're ill, we just don't know it. Don't let me talk you into becoming hypochondriacs. Just consider this, what I'm saying, that if we are 100% healthy, we would not get ill. Not on the scale that we are at the moment. I mean, this country, the UK, has got what they call the National Health Service, the NHS, and it is the biggest employer in Europe. It is massive. The only organisation that was bigger than the NHS was the Red Army when the Soviet Union was around, and they've gone. So it gives you some idea, and this is just one small country off the coast of Europe. I mean, what's going on in Europe, I've no idea, but it's going to be massive. Healthcare in America, they're bringing in their healthcare schemes. The health of people, generally speaking, is in serious decline. There is a huge amount of money spent on health, and that's not really correct. It's not really spent on health, it's spent on mitigating the effects of health. There's very little being done to put right the causes of illness or what's going wrong with us, because I mean, one of the reasons is health. The health industry is massive. It's a massive employer and generator of all kinds of things. It's like a lot of things nowadays, they're dependent on their clients. So, the starting point is the decline in our levels of health. I would say most of us around 30% of our potential, what we're actually able to achieve. Instead of being at 100%, as far as we can go, we're down to about 30%. 70% of our health has just disappeared. Now, don't get me wrong, when I say I talk about the NHS and all this, yes, the medicine over the last few centuries and surgery and all the rest of it has done an amazing amount of good. Yes, no denying that. But what I'm saying is, the real problem isn't fixing the illnesses. The real problem is fixing the decline in the general level of health. Why it is we've dropped so low. And there's a number of reasons. One is the environment, all the pollution that's in the environment that gets into us. This has knock-on effects like bacteria, viruses, and moulds and fungus. They're all now breeding and growing in a heavily polluted environment. So when they get in, they're much more damaging. Like, I was tracking the what lets in long-term, serious long-term chronic illnesses like MS. And it seemed to me that at a very early age, a virus gets in and damages the throat. This is part of the process. Now this virus, these viruses are much more powerful now, much more effective because of where they breed. They're breeding out in the environment, in polluted conditions, heavily polluted conditions. Same's true of bacteria. Bacteria now are probably the biggest threat, I would think. I mean, it's all pretty bad. It's hard to put one above the other, but I think the biggest problem is bacteria. That really has a huge impact. Bacteria that is contaminated with pollutants, that has a huge impact on the body. And that lets in viruses which have a huge impact, and fungal infections, moulds, these kind of things. They're very, very bad because they're systemic. They go through the whole through the body, all through the body, causing no end of problems. Yeah. So it's this constant attack on the body by pollutants. And then there's all the drugs, recreational drugs and prescribed drugs. They have a tremendous impact on the body. Even as I've said in other videos, we're changing the frequency of the sunlight that we receive now through pollution in the air. Right? So we're not getting sunlight as we used to. We're not getting, our bodies are under attack all the time from different directions. Our immune systems are getting knocked flat. And all this is done with no symptoms. We go into decline, we hit a low level, but because we're not sweating, we're not in pain, we're not suffering, we're not shivering, there's no real symptoms. It's just that constitutionally we've collapsed. And what happens is then serious illness comes along and gets in. It has a foothold. It has a way in. A door has been opened because our health, our level of health, our immune systems, our energy systems, everything has collapsed. So these things can get in. And the reason why they're so tough and so stubborn to get rid of is because they're protected by the collapse of the body systems, the immune system. They're protected. They've wedged themselves into that. You know? It's very hard to get rid of an illness just by attacking the illness. Especially if that illness is mislabelled. It's not really an illness. It's the byproduct of some action in the body. It's how do they call it? Unintentional consequence of something else. You know. So there's not really an illness to fight. There's the damage is done to the body through pollutants, toxic bacteria, toxic viruses, toxic fungal infections and moulds. The damage is done by that. That sometimes, most times, gets cleared out. The body manages to get rid of it, but the damage remains. There's a low level of health brought about by these things. And then there's a chain of consequence, unintended consequences, that lead to what we would call, what we see as an illness. But it's not an illness, it's the breakdown of the body. By that I'm saying you can't point the finger at something biological and say it's that. It's a whole chain of events. So, these things are very difficult to get rid of when you just try and get rid of them. Yeah? Because they're not the problem. They're the follow-up problem. They're the follow-on problem. They're what comes along after the main problem has happened, which is the breakdown of the body systems and the immune system not working and all the rest of it. Now this is why, with my healing with energy methods, the first three are to deal with the breakdown of the body, to restore the immune system, to get the immune system working, to raise the level of health, to get the systems of the body working. The first three methods to put energy into the body, vitality into the body, that the body can convert. So the first three methods are to raise the general level of health. Right? Because until that happens, the illness or the condition that a person's got will always have a home in that person. It will always have a foothold. There will always be a door open. So that's what's needed. We need to shut the door, raise the level of health. Then the body joins in the attack. Then we can look at the illness. Method number 4 flushes out all the illness and the effects. But it can't do that until the illness has been weakened. It loses its grip on a person. It might well be that the first three methods do the job anyway. But it's good to be thorough. It's good to knock out as much as possible so that the body has the fullest chance of recovery, of repair, of getting rid of what's hurting it. Yeah, definitely. The first method is get out all the bad energy. Then the second method is to get in or start putting in good energy. Second and third method is to start putting in the good energy. This is an interesting one because putting in all the different energies from the oils, the body has to convert. It uses the cells of the body to convert that energy into energy it can use. You can't just put an energy in, the body uses it. It has to be converted to something that is refined, might be in other words. It's the same with us. We get oil out of the ground. It needs to be refined to go into cars and planes and tractors and everything else. And this is the same. The energy needs to be refined or changed by the cells of the body so the body can use it. And that again is why the first method is to flush out all the bad energy. Then we can start putting in good energy. Then by the time we get to method 4, we can start flushing out the illnesses. There's another method on the way, healing with energy step 5, and that will be, it's got something to do with the internal organs. It's still on the horizon, as it were, but it's coming. Okay, that's this video done. It's an interesting concept that we're ill before we get the illness. So, not interesting if you're actually in that situation, but you know, the methods do help because, as I say, it's not a direct. I don't actually do a lot to get rid of illness. I do a lot to get the body to get rid of illness, so that the body can recover its own vitality, its own strength, constitutional strength. The immune system wakes up, starts working, and then all of that turns on what's wrong, kicks it out. Because once all that wakes up and starts up, once the body starts to recover, the health of the body starts to recover, it's like the door shuts on the illness. You know? The body will shut the door that's let the illness in. Then the illness slides off. It hasn't got a foothold. It has to be pushed out. Okay, I'm sure you get the idea. I shall keep plodding on, and I hope to see you, or you can see me on the next videos. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me on future videos. Thank you very much. Bye.